One of the tasks that we'll have ahead of us in the coming weeks is to determine the essential standards of our course. The D128 Remote and Blended Remote Learning Plan says that essential curriculum is defined as the core skills and knowledge from each course that have been identified by state standards, teachers, and teaching teams. The essential curriculum is not the entire curriculum. It leaves time and space for reteaching and for including teachers' unique interests and strengths. Teaching teams shall address the essential curriculum of the course refined as necessary to ensure that it is viable for each school. Why must we narrow down our curriculum to the essential standards for remote learning? To begin, remote learning takes more time. Listen to some testimonial from a summer school teacher who tried their hand at remote teaching this summer. Think time, wait time, modeling of ideas all look different in a remote setting. Students and teachers are receiving less body language and physical cues to affirm whether someone is on the right track, which demands fitting and opportunities for check-ins and reflections to see where students are in their progress. More time is spent getting ourselves ready to speak, to listen, and to get into groups. We have less control over our own environment and no control over our students' environment. All of these factors impact the pacing of our class time and the ability to achieve the volume of curriculum that we are used to. In short, remote teaching takes more time, and to accommodate, we'll need to prioritize key standards and skills. Also, because new grading policies will take more time. Again, according to the D128 Remote and Blended Learning Plan, during the 2021 school year, redo and revision opportunities for essential assignments and assessments will be provided in all courses in order to provide students with the time needed to relearn and demonstrate mastery of course standards. Redo and revision timelines will be determined by individual teachers and published to students. So this will mean more work completion for students and more feedback and assessing for teachers. To make this manageable for both, we're going to need to carve out some time for redos and revisions by prioritizing key skills and standards. Additionally, because social emotional learning is important now more than ever, CASEL, a source that we'll dive more into in the coming weeks, says that as you prepare to welcome students and adults back to school, you face the layered impact of school closures, the pandemic, racial inequities amplified by nationwide mobilization, and more. Social emotional learning offers a powerful means to support one another, children and adults, during this challenging time. So social emotional learning is important, but it also takes time, and to make that time, we need to be prioritizing our skills and standards. Our students' social emotional health is important, and we need to prioritize it. In sum, educators are charged with ensuring that all students have the opportunity to be successful despite the challenges of remote learning. This will require some narrowing down of skills and standards. So we've talked about why we need to narrow down our curriculum, but how do we go about narrowing down our curriculum for those essential skills for remote learning? Recommendation number 1 is to begin with the work from last year's PLTs. The good news is that we've already begun this work. If you recall from last year, outcome number 1 was a guaranteed and viable curriculum. This means that we've already begun the work to review relevant standards, select the standards essential to the course, and ensure essential standards that were realistic to the time frame. Now that time frame was in the context of traditional teaching, so we'll need to re-examine those standards in the context of remote teaching to be sure that the skills and standards we talked about last year are still appropriate for remote learning for our students. Recommendation number 2, narrow further by considering these criteria with your course teams. The criteria listed here will help your course teams prioritize the skills and standards that are most important for your class. Criteria number 1 is endurance. What are the skills and understandings used beyond the completion of your course? Undoubtedly, your course standards offer students the chance to develop skills that will help them be successful beyond your course. Prioritize those first. Criteria number 2 is leverage. What are the skills used across other disciplines? Focus on the skills and strategies that will help your students be successful in all of their coursework this year. Criteria number 3 is readiness. What are the skills to prepare students for next level or advanced courses in this discipline? This might require some vertical teaming and alignment to help your students' future teachers help you prioritize your current skills and standards. Recommendation number 3, if it's possible, consider reordering your scope and sequence to prioritize essential skills and standards first. If you structure your unit so that your earlier units emphasize essential skills and standards, if you don't have time to get to a final unit, you won't run the risk of missing an essential skill or standard for your course. Timing might be a bit uncertain this year as we try a new form of teaching, so it's important to prioritize the essential skills and standards first, building some room in for flex time, and if we get to those final skills, that's great. If not, we won't run the risk of missing something important. Recommendation number 4, remember that this is not forever. We're only asking you to pare down your curriculum further for the purpose of remote teaching, and this is not something that will endure permanently. Remember, this too shall pass.